We are looking at the statue of King Anouvong, the last king of the kingdom of Vientiane. He led a rebellion against the Siamese in the 1820s and lost. That was squeaky. The city of Vientiane was completely destroyed and only rediscovered by French troops that arrived here 30 years later and found a completely destroyed city overgrown by jungle. That is 170 years ago, and what we see today is what has been built up afterwards. Of course, Vientiane is no longer a kingdom, and also the Siamese don't conquer the area anymore, although the nowadays country of Thailand is just across the river, right over there, and I'm basically walking the wrong way there to show you. We are in the park right in front, right behind the presidential palace, which unfortunately is being renovated. Laos, or Lao PDR, People's Democratic Republic, as it's officially called, is a landlocked country in former Indochina, what we nowadays would call Southeast Asia. I have arrived here yesterday by train from Thailand, and I'm planning to stay here for a few days. So let's see what we can find. The most interesting old town part is towards the west of me, while I'm walking eastwards, because I want to have a little walk around this presidential palace complex and show you what communism has done to this country. Because as you will notice, a lot of areas have old buildings next to brand new or relatively new government complexes that have been built on top of old neighborhoods. Ever since the early 2000s, 2002, there has been a decree to save what's left of the history of old Vientiane. You can't just tear down buildings anymore and build a government complex or whatever you want, but much has been lost. It's only just shortly after 10 a.m. in the morning. I had the choice of waiting with walking around until 5 o'clock when the weather is cooling down, or force myself to at least walk around for a bit and do it as slowly as possible before the heat is really cranked up here. We are making our way around the presidential complex, which is left of us, walking along some of the main thoroughfares of the city. At least this is a side street of the main thoroughfare. And yes, it has old buildings. And later on we will find the odd temple as well. I don't really speak French, but I know that says service d'urgence.
Service d'urgence.
Urgent care. Jesus, my French is rusty. Palais présidentiel. Quite a number of signs and names of government buildings are still in modern language. They're also in French. That is, of course, because Laos used to be a colony of the French, but fairly recently actually. And all the government buildings here mostly have English name. Oh, that looks really nice. 1910, 1911, look at that. Education Printing Enterprise State Company. And if you are talking state companies and state enterprises in names, well, big chance you are in a fairly communist country. The layout of Vientiane is a fairly square layout. Main streets are as straight as you can get. with the odd side street that intersects with it. Of course, that's the main benefit I guess you have if you can rebuild a city on ruins after the Siamese army has burned down everything 30 years prior to your arrival. China is of course a border over to the north. The city of Kunming is about 1200 kilometers away from here, straight north. And there is a high-speed rail connecting this city of 700 million with Kunming in China. Once a day it leaves at 8:08. Nice Chinese timing there. And it takes about 10.5 hours, 11 hours depending on border checkpoints. Right across the street from us is the state-owned electricity company headquarters. Nice colonial building. What I've noticed myself doing is drinking a lot. I came from Singapore a week ago and it's really hot and dry air here. So drinking is not optional, it's something you have to do. Another old colonial building, which is now the Bangkok Bank. And to remind you, that's the Laos flag right in front. And that's the communist hammer and sickle flag. You won't find them too much here, but government buildings and banks and offices will have a flag out. The vibe I get from walking around here is indeed completely different than any other major city, capital city here in Southeast Asia. This feels like a village almost. This is an old chadi or pagoda. Smack bang in the middle of town is a radio tower, cell phone tower as well nowadays. And this is the national stadium with the same name, King Anouvong. For someone that lost his kingdom, saw his city razed to the ground, to the last brick, and saw a majority of his own people being removed from their ancestral lands, he is quite revered. That's because he is portrayed as the good guy here in the story, being the king of the Laotians. Not sure how you can spin all that negativity into a positive thing, but the Laotians did it, so hats off to them. Temples are open to the public. And since this is not a really touristy place, you don't have to pay an entrance fee and we can just have a look around quick. Beautiful whole building. I was here early in the morning when the sun was on this side. So those pictures you will probably see on the screen right now. Yeah, it doesn't do it justice the way it is now. If you hear a sound, it sounds like tuk-tuk. That's right, they also have them here in Laos. It's the afternoon rush hour, or almost I think. So it's a little bit more busy than it was earlier today. But it was just simply too hot. It was 38 degrees. It is maybe, I don't know. There is a slight breeze, so it makes it a little bit more comfortable. And as soon as we cross one street, we will end up at another temple with white elephants. I think this might be a boarding house. Oh, boarding school even, it's a classroom. Really well maintained, the temples here.
Wandering around here for a bit doesn't hurt. find yourself a bench in the shade of some trees and you can take a breath for a bit. This comes with views of stunning buildings on the temple complex grounds and manicured gardens that have their own shrines. Entrance to these temples is free, as they are not the tourist destinations that many temples in Thailand have become, but you can always leave a donation in one of the donation boxes around.
That's it for the temples right now. It's still extremely hot. Don't want to get all sweaty again, so I'm just going to have a drink somewhere and then continue walking again. So just take it easy. Vientiane has cooled down for a bit. It's just after 5 in the afternoon and trying to cross a street here. There's a little evening market here that popped up during the day. This is a scorching hot parking lot. And in the evening hours it turns into a market. Starting from 20k, that's roughly €1. Looks cozy though, I have to say. Also, this popped up in the last hour or so. Across the street on the river Mekong, right over there, is a fancy fair. There's a sunset here over Thailand. Right over there across the river is Thailand. There is no bridge here. The nearest bridge is at Tanaleng Nongkai border crossing that I crossed earlier yesterday morning. Maybe they were afraid of an invasion. Happened before. Might happen again. Although it has been very friendly here though. So the riverside is the place to be on any evening of the week, I guess. It's a Monday? Tuesday. It's a Tuesday? What day is it? It's a Tuesday. Can do the bouncy castle though. But I guess that's for the kids.